Yo, guys, what's going on? I am your host, Skills. Welcome to another episode of the Spark Something podcast. And I want you guys to do me a favor while we go on this journey. I need you guys to make room. We're going to make some room for growth, for grace, and a real conversation. Now, let's get into this episode. Yo, guys, what's going on? Thank you guys for coming back. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for lending me your ears. One more again, this is your host, Skills. Welcome to the Spark Something podcast. I am going to be transparent today as I try to be in every single episode. I'm not going to say this podcast is brought to you by, but I'm going to say the energy of this podcast right now is brought to you by UFit Gym and 7-Eleven. So I just came from the gym maybe an hour and a half ago. I was having a bummed out morning, but I went to the gym and I only today was just a day that I needed to show up at the gym. I just needed to show up today. And I showed up. I went because I had a really rough morning. So we got up, we went, we did a couple RDLs, and I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. If you are trying to lift heavy, because I want this to be, me. I need you guys to hear me. If you're trying to lift heavy, you go to the gym, you working on your glutes, ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening. If you want to lift heavy, you want to work on your glutes and you do some RDLs. Now, if you don't know what an RDL is, go Google it, go look it up, go to YouTube University and type in RDLs. What is an RDL? And it'll show you. If you're doing RDLs, and this is coming from me, I'm working on my body right now. God is gracing me to do so. And you not shaking like a stripper, I don't know what you're doing. If you say you want to live heavy and you doing RDLs and you ain't shaking like you ain't trembling, you ain't trembling like I, hey, add 5 more pounds to them dumbbells or add 5 more pounds to that bar. Add a little bit more weight to it and you'll feel it. Trust me. You're welcome. And also this podcast, this energy of this podcast is brought to you by 7-Eleven because after I leave the gym, sometimes I stop at the gas station. I stop at 7-Eleven because that's the closest spot. And I'll go in there and big shout out to the sandwiches they have. They got this I think it's like a um spicy mayo and cheese with turkey and lettuce sandwich in a little container. You know, little gas station sandwiches. Some of y'all, hey, don't frown upon. Don't knock it till you try it. When I was working at Carvana, this was my go-to. I would always grab one of these, and then I just so happened to start looking on the back. I think it's like 35 grams of protein in this sandwich, and it's one sandwich. They slice it in half, sit the lettuce on the side. You put it together as you choose. So it's about 39 or 35 grams of protein on the sandwich. And then I walked in there and I saw that they had this lemon chicken Caesar salad. They never have this at my 7-Eleven. And it was the only one up there. So I grabbed it. And then I grabbed a fusion Lipton tea and I got energy. We here. So I decided to start this podcast off basically talking about that because the energy that I'm giving you is being fueled by the fact that God has woken me up this morning, graced me with life, and I decided to go to the gym after having a rough morning. And then we stopped and grabbed our favorite sandwich from 7-Eleven, a salad, and something to drink. And then the rest of my day, I'm probably gonna be drinking water anyways. Either way, we could get into the episode now. I just needed to let y'all know that was like 4 minutes almost. But anyways, I wanted to actually do this episode for you guys and for myself. So, what brought about the idea of this episode? I'm on Facebook and I have a family member that's struggling right now mentally. And I'm sure she's not the only one. So, I'm watching her, Facebook page. I reached out to her, told her I loved her and stuff like that. We're not that close, but I did reach out to her, tell her I love her, and making sure, hey, keep talking because we didn't always have this when growing up. And she actually wrote a post recently, and she was like, growing up, my mom and my dad, we never really mentioned, we never really talked about, never really talked about mental health. And she was basically saying, if you are struggling with your mental health, make sure you take it seriously. Like get that checked, take that seriously, because you never know. You never know. There are people, their entire lives are being flipped upside down because mentally they are struggling and they don't have anybody to talk to, or mentally they are drained and life is hard. I think life is hard just in general for everybody. But thank God for Jesus. I'm going to say that. And then I was on YouTube, like, cause I don't really be like checking like that for people, but I'm on YouTube and I started seeing Kai Cenat. And then I went and I'm watching, like I watched the video, and it just seems like he's just talking, and it's a motivational video. That was a cough. Y'all know I'm not editing that out. We gonna keep it moving. But it's a motivational video because we still, getting over the cold from last episode. But either way, motivational video from Castanet, and I see, it begin to, like, his name begins to surface around social media, and people are like clowning him because of what he's doing now. So he's on YouTube. If you don't know who Castanet is, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google is free 99, and so is YouTube. Go do a search, figure out who he is, figure out what happened. But Castanet began to talk about his mental health after he reached a milestone. Like he made it. He was the guy for streaming, the guy that everybody knew, for streaming, and he accomplished so much in the time frame. And then he's at the very top, the very pinnacle of his field, and he's like, yo, I'm gonna take a break because mentally I'm not doing okay. Now everybody was, and he, at the time, I think it was supposed to be like a short break, he was saying. And then um he ended up, I think him and his girl ended up breaking up. I don't know the whole story. I didn't go into like a deep search, but I just saw what I saw. But him and his girl ended up breaking up, and he eventually recently just dropped a video on YouTube saying, I'm quitting streaming. And he has other ideas and aspirations that he wants to do. And in culture, people will be like, yo, that's crazy. You should stick with what you're doing because you're the guy, you've made it. Why would you give up on this? Yada, yada, yada. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. There's so many people, so many of us, we get to a certain point and we've reached a level, a great level. And there are times where God is like, hey, on to the next. And we sometimes stay in places and spaces because it feels good or because it feels great. And we're like, all right, God blessing me here. This is what he's calling me to do. And sometimes, yeah. And then there's other times where God is like, all right, time to go. And a lot of the times we may not get up and leave when it's time for us to go, and things start being, they start being flipped upside down. And then we're praying like, oh, God, fix this. God, do this, do that. And I don't really know what's going on. And or things get too well and you start, people start coming out the woodworks and you start getting invited to certain places where God ain't tell you to go and you go anyways. Either way, big shout out to Kai for being just aware that he's not okay or that he wasn't doing okay. Big shout out to my fam for being aware that she's not doing okay, because I think she took some time off of work and she's kind of just been like working on her mental health. And then with Kai right now, he's on YouTube. He's not streaming anymore, but he's on YouTube. And I recently saw like a video resurface about the guy, because Kai was on Twitch. So I recently, and that's a streaming platform. Google it. It's free. YouTube is free. Go do a search on what Twitch is. Go do a search on who Castanet is. If you want to know more information, that's completely up to you. If you just want to hear me ramble, hear my story, cool. I'll give you as much information as I have. But I recently seen a video where the CEO of Twitch was actually on Kai's streaming platform, and he was giving him like a rundown of who he thought all the greats were, and he mentioned Kai while he was with Kai. And then I don't know the time frame of him being on a different podcast, a different platform, and then they asked him, "Who's your Mount Rushmore of streaming?" And he didn't mention Kai. And the guy was like, "Oh, well, what about Kai Cenat?" And he's like, yeah, Kai is great. And I only really mentioned Kai because I was in front of Kai. But Kai hasn't been streaming for that long, and he could, there's still time. He's still young in this, yeah, but he has reached a level that a lot of the streamers that's been doing it for a while has not reached. And not only did he do that, he also was helping his friends get on by bringing them onto his streaming platform. Like he opened the doors for a lot of other people that may have been afraid to start something, that may have been afraid to go out and do something incredible. And God allowed him to bring these people onto his platform and introduce him to his following, and some of his followers started following them. And then they would do stuff together, and it was beautiful. God bless Kai to do that. And the guy was like, "Oh, I only said, Kai because I was in front of Kai." Kai hears that. I see this video surface of him talking to the CEO, and the CEO is rambling and stumbling over his words. And Kai's like, "Nah, it's cool, He was like, "Yeah, I heard you when you said, you only said me because you were in front of me." And he was like, "Oh no, you didn't see how they edited the thing, and they edited this and edited that." And he was just like, "Nah, it's cool." And I don't know the distance between that conversation that he had with the CEO and him saying, "Hey, I'm getting off Twitch altogether and I'm gonna create my own thing," because he said he quit. And he was the one that was really like, God blessed him to open up a lot of doors for a lot of people who's streaming right now on Twitch. So my man got his bag, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm good." He got more than a bag. He got bag, he got acknowledgement, he got recognition, and he was always streaming. Like he was just always consistent all the time. And I know for a fact like that may not have been completely healthy mentally or emotionally or physically, as his life had been in front of the camera. And he put a lot of energy into this, and sometimes he would go streaming for more than 24 hours, and and it was, I don't know how long his longest stream was, but the camera would just be rolling. And I'm like, there's no moment in time where you have energy to do anything else, where you have privacy to really do anything else. Everything is put in front of the camera. And I know this sounds like, oh, well, that's his choice, his decision. It opened up some doors for people that were connected to him. It opened up a major door for him. He's Kai is rolling and dough. But at the same time, after he's done all this work, he's like, "Okay, I'm done over here. Let's start something else." And a lot of us, I'll say me, I can't speak for everybody. I don't have, I haven't done that. But I also know like I don't have the capacity to do that all the time. But either way, I know that he mentioned his mental health. And in mentioning his mental health, he's like, "All right, yeah, I'm not like mentally okay, so I'm gonna take a break." And he took a break, and now he's on YouTube reading books. I think he's reading for like 15 minutes a day at like 12 something, or it's a certain time I think he's reading for. And all of the video that I saw recently of him is him looking up a word, or looking up words that he doesn't know. And a lot of people started clowning him for it. And I'm just like, if we as a people did more of wanting to learn and wanting to pour into ourselves instead of always wanting to be in the spotlight, or instead of always wanting to to be seen or be noticed or to try to get views or likes or comments or this or that. And a bunch of people could be like, yo, but I mean, he's still recording himself. I get that, but it's what he's putting out now into the world, because social media, which isn't a terrible thing, it's all in how you use it. But social media can turn into something that isn't good if we're always trying to get to a bag. You feel me? If we're always trying to like find the money aspect of it, if we always trying to chase the paper, get to the bag, do this, do that, like we'll always be stuck looking, not looking within. And we can get the money, but the inside will be in shambles. Mentally, we'll be in shambles. Emotionally, we'll be in shambles. And the thing that we chase after the most, where our heart goes, that will be our God. And that will then become our guide. And you can have money, but at the same time, people will never be satisfied with the amount of money that they have until they are satisfied with themselves. And there's something greater in this life than just chasing after something that is printed every day. Like, don't get me wrong. I want money. Anybody in this world, to live in this world, you would want money. But for that to be the main goal, the main focal point, I'm getting up every single day of my life, and that is the only thing that I'm thinking about. Um I'm not thinking about how I want to grow as a person. I'm not thinking about how this is going to change me. I'm not thinking about the things that I'm suppressing because I'm focused on this. And it's like at the end of the road, what's the amount that's enough? You feel me? At the end of all the work you put in, how much are you really trying to get? And people are like, oh, I just want to be rich. I just want to be rich. I want money. I want money. And all that's great. It's not a bad thing. I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing. I'm not going to say it's a terrible thing. But what I will say is, when it's all said and done, what in the world, like what in the world is going to satisfy you? Nothing. Nothing. Growing up, I watched my stepdad work, 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 slave. I've been in the I graduated from college about, let's see, it was 2014, and we're now in 2026. So what's that, like 12 years? I graduated from college for 12 years. I've had money. I've seen money. Have I seen a crazy, 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 crazy amount of money at one time? No. But at the same time, I get up every day, I work, and I'm like, that's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. Okay. And then I've seen large lump sums of money at once. And then I'm like, that's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. Okay. And we just going to keep going and keep going and keep. And after a while, I'm like, this is never going to satisfy me completely. It's never going to be the thing that fulfills me in my life or in my heart. I'm always going to desire something. And there's an empty space that money can't fill that God can. There's an empty space that the things of this world can't provide, but God can. The God that created all of this can. The one that loved me so much that before I was formed in my mother's womb, he knew me. Like, and then, and only then after that will I be satisfied. The money will come. The friends will come. The people that need to be a part of my life will come. But what is my foundation? That's the word I was looking for. What is my foundation gonna be? My foundation can't be something that that's created every day. Like I'm not knocking Kai. I'm not knocking this, anybody else that's chasing the bag. Go get your paper. Like, yo, go get your paper. But at the same time, if that is the main focal point and that becomes your God, that becomes your guide, money and the chase of it becomes your life. You're going to look up 20, 30 years from now and you're not going to fully be satisfied ever. Ever. Because your entire life, that is all you've done. And I'm saying this not as a millionaire, but I'm looking from the outside looking in, and I'm saying even J. Cole said it. Hey, even when he didn't have money, he was a lot happier then. And then there's millionaires that are literally like jumping off a cliff and offing themselves because they don't have peace. Then you have people that don't have money and they are looking for money to be their peace, and they jumping off of cliffs too. So it's like, bro, what is the foundation? Like, we need somewhere to sit, to land, to be able to stand on, and then everything else outside of that can be outside of that. But when all else fails, this is where I'm getting. When all else fails and the money comes and goes and the people come and go and the jobs come and go and the system comes and it goes, because things are going to change when technology begins to get even more advanced and we don't have control over things the way we have control over things now. When the kids leave the nest and you're alone, even if you don't have kids, when things begin to change right before your eyes and you don't have control over it, what do you put your hope in? Like, what do you put your foundation in? I get it. I'll be on social media. Hey, we can post and we can say, hey, people get money off of social media. I'm trying to get money off of social. I understand all of that. I understand all of that. But at the end of it all, when everything is shifting and you have no control, where are you going to run? When things begin to fall apart, or even when things begin to move faster than you can, what is your foundation? I'm looking, and I'm talking about this because I'm looking at the videos of Kai and the streaming that Kai was doing, and for him to be like, "Hey, I'm over here now," and people to be angry and then clown him for wanting to focus on his internal being, to wanting to read more and look up words he doesn't understand, and wanting to work out. Even all of that stuff is great as well. But I remember when Kai was doing streaming and he talked about his faith. He talked about believing in God. He talked about all of these things. But at the same time, the foundation of him as a person, he was still struggling. He was still struggling like many of us do. And Kai got way more bands than I got. But at the same time, I'm like, Lord, I need you to be my foundation before you bring anything to me. Because if not, that's going to lead me. That's going to guide me. That's going to be my source. That's going to be where I put my hope. And guess what? Money is printed every day. That's going to be my source. That's going to lead me. That's going to guide me. And guess what? I can spend money just as fast as I can make it. And then what? Then I got to go out there and make more because I done spent that. But when I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses, when I'm not trying to build my entire life around looking like somebody that I'm not. And I'm working on my relationship with God. I'm working on my faith. I'm dealing with things that I didn't deal with as a child, trauma. And I'm dealing with things that are trying to attach itself to me. Like I went to work out today because I felt a little, I felt a little heaviness on me, and I got out of here, and I'm like, okay, now what? And as I'm doing that, God is doing something in me. I was at the gym today. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you because I've been struggling mentally too. But I was at the gym today, right? And I just got there. Like I already knew when I got there, I was already a little heavy. But I got there and I started stretching. And as I'm stretching, I feel tears beginning to well up in my eyes. And I'm being reminded, like, God, this isn't just me coming into the gym. This isn't just me going outside to walk. This isn't just me, trying to get fine for the 99 and the 2000s. This ain't just me trying to get my body together. You're doing something in my spirit. You're transforming me. You're transforming my very foundation. There were things, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. There were things that happened to me as a child that I didn't tell anybody about. There were things that happened to me as a teenager that bothered me, and I was traumatized by it. There are things that happened to me as a child that I was traumatized by, and I didn't tell anybody. And before I could tell anybody my story, somebody had already told my story, and they didn't even tell it. They didn't even tell my story the right way. So other people have heard that version of the story, but they never heard mine. And it traumatized me when it got back to me. And I'm like, Lord, you've elevated me now in you. And I'm struggling. You're shifting things and I'm struggling because I this is something that I'm used to. Nobody knows this part of me, and God's like, I need you to give me that. I need you to give me that too. Because as you move forward, I need you to not have these vices that you think are comfort, and you stay there. Because you're going to have to tell somebody the story, and you're going to need me to be able to withstand the things that are going to come. And it's like, I've struggled too. So I understand where my cousin's coming from. Mentally, I've struggled too. I understand where Kai's coming from. Do I know their stories completely? No, but I grew up in church too. And I know the same people that my cousin know. I know the same people that I grew up with in church that didn't necessarily talk about mental health. And I was struggling. I remember having a conversation, and I don't remember like the full conversation with my aunt, but my aunt was saying something to me, and she was like, you got to be like Jesus. You got to be like, and I was like 15 at the time. And I told my aunt, I said, I'm not Jesus. I don't know what that looks like. But how the tone of which I said it wasn't that chill. So my aunt was like, whoa. And then I came back and I apologized because of how I said it. But I wasn't apologizing for what I said. I didn't have a representation at the time of what real forgiveness looked like. I didn't know. I'm 15. I'm still learning. And they're just like, you supposed to do this and you're supposed to know. So I'm growing up and I'm letting everybody walk over me. I'm a doormat. And I'm getting older and I'm just like, oh, this hurt. Oh, this is bothering me. And I'm internalizing the feeling and the emotion and the hurt behind it. And I'm just like, oh no, it's cool, it's okay, And people are like, oh, you're a Christian, you supposed to. And I'm just like, I'm not doing well with this. I'm not doing okay. And I'm struggling. And I don't know who to talk to because the last person that I spoke to about this, they clowned me for it. Or they told me, oh, you a Christian, you got to be more like Christ. You're a Christian, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to allow it to. And I'm just like, no, Because right now I don't really feel like Christ. I feel more like Peter. I'm ready to chop an ear off. You feel me? Like I don't wanna smile and wave. I wanna punch you in the face. That was how I felt. That was what it was. And then I had to really like sit back and I'm like, Lord, how do I deal with this? And I started asking questions. Lord, I'm hurt by this. This is bothering me. And God allowed me to see, like, oh, your tears are a language to me. Hey, it's okay to cry. Hey, it's okay. It's okay today to not feel perfectly fine. I need that too. Give me that. Because I realized the raw cut emotion, the times where we're at our lowest, God wants to hear from us, because that's when the prayers that are all polished and the ones that are all put together and matted and they sound fancy and sound illustrious, God is like, I want that, the hurt, the broken pieces, the bitter piece. Give me that, because that's really what I'm after. I get I get all the I want to look a certain way. Like I get the image that we want to portray for social media, but when it's all said and done and we really like close the door behind us and turn the cameras off and the microphone gets turned off, like who are we really? What are we really dealing with? How are we showing up? Cuz I'm going to be honest with you, I struggle too. I struggle. And I realize, like, even in my moments of my struggle, God is like, I want to use that. In my moments of being low, God is like, I want to use that. I need to use that. Don't hide that version of yourself, because that's what a real relationship with God looks like. When we come to him at our lowest, bro, I want to use that. I need that. That's the version of you that I need. That's the version of you that I'm going to use. And we like, no. But the crazy part, the reason to why I've hid it, I can't speak to you about you, but I can tell you why I've hid it. I've hid those parts of me because those were the parts that people laughed at. Those were the parts that people made me feel like I'm not worthy because I have these flaws, or I'm not worthy because they can see my scars, or I'm not worthy because those moments in my life aren't beautiful. They're not polished. They're not. And God's like, in your weakness, I am strong. That's Bible. And I'm like, Lord. So God's like, all of this putting up a front and this and that. And that's honestly why a lot of people last year and it's going to continue this year are being exposed, because we want to portray to be strong when God's like, hey man, say man, I know you. And you don't have to be that for me. I actually knew you before you were here. I know your weaknesses. And I can be strong in your weaknesses, but you have to give your weaknesses to me. Because if not, if you are portraying to be strong over here and we go like, bro, you gonna get exposed. And take it from you deserve to be exposed. I'm being honest with you. We deserve to be exposed. So I'm saying all of that to say, listen, I am very, very proud of the people that are going through it and they're being vocal about it. They're going through it and they're saying, hey, I don't have all the answers now. I haven't watched all of Kai's recent videos. So I know that I've been seeing him read and take his health seriously. He's working on a clothing brand, like just different things that he's been learning. Like he's been pouring back into himself. And I'm praying that God continues to cover Kai. I'm praying that God continues to cover my cousin. I'm praying that God continues to cover each and every person that may listen to this episode. I pray that God covers you mentally, emotionally, and I want to remind you that it's okay that we don't have it all together, because God's not looking for us to be perfect. He wants to perfect us. He's already perfect. And we're only good because he's good. No man is good on their own. We're good because the Father is good. We're good because he's God. We're not good because we've done anything right. No man is completely righteous. No man is righteous. I'm righteous because he's righteous. I'm good because he's good. I can do this because he's done it. Like, I don't have all of the answers, but I know a God who does. And I'm going to continue to hide there in the weakest moments that I have. I know he's going to portray himself to be strong. So I pray that God covers each and every listener. And I'm not doing this podcast because I want to make money. Like, God will open the door. I know he gonna open the door. It's cool. I really just want to do this because I want to put something out into the world that matters to me. And at the end of all of it, if it bring in money, then cool. But I started this podcast because it was something fun to do. A lot of the times, as people, we get so consumed with the work, that we forget to actually enjoy what we're doing. And I started podcasting, I started music because I enjoyed what I was doing. But when it started to feel like work, I bounced. So I know I can create visuals, I can do all of this other stuff, but I genuinely just want to have a conversation. And I'm hoping that it actually brings and sheds some light and it helps you guys to have real conversations too. So whoever listens to this, God bless y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man, for just rocking with it, bro. If you um if it sparked something, if this podcast sparked anything in your life, you can respond, you can comment, you can share it, you can like it, and you can send it to somebody, bro, and say, hey, I think this will be dope. I think you should check it out. And I really appreciate that. Um, but enjoy yourself, man. Remember to hide in God, regardless of if you're up, if you're down, if it makes sense, if it don't make sense. Bro, just allow God to lead you. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Spark Something podcast. This has been your girl Skills, and we are out of here, baby.